Holy, stay out of the basement, Batman! Tiki here, and I'm watching through Batman, the animated series, for the first time. You know, folks, with only 3 episodes to go, if there's one thing I've learned about Bruce Wayne as a character, it's that he's never gonna settle down. He's a lone wolf. He's never gonna get married. Dragon, what's going on in this episode, buddy? Explain. Tell us why we're here.
Well, you see, folks, long ago I made a vow. A vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham, in a way.
And tonight we're talking Season 4, Episode 22, Chemistry, aka the Bruce Wayne honeymoon episode. Dragon, wow, this was not something I was expecting. I got to admit, I don't know. This episode is it's not bad, Dragon. It's not bad. Like, I definitely think it's more up to par than, you know, some of the ones that I've really gone after this season. But it's really not great. I don't know. I feel like this episode kind of like it flounders all over the place. Like, Dragon, to me, it kind of reminds me of like a late Hey Arnold episode where it's like, all right, we got the characters, but we don't quite know what to do with them. I feel like Ivy in this episode is really overpowered. I feel like Bruce in this episode is really naive. I don't know, Dragon. This, it's an interesting premise for an episode, to be sure. But this one just didn't really jive with me. To use one of your kind of like poster quotes, I liked it, but I didn't love it.
All right. Yeah, this is an interesting one. This I can't quite. This one really gets lost in the shuffle a lot. You know, it's of course. I mean, coming off the throes of Mad Love, what can you expect? Of course. Depending on what circle, depending on how people are experiencing the show. I mean, again, if they're talking the home video crowd, the Amazon crowd, it's definitely going to be in the order we're kind of broaching these in. So certainly it's like, oh my God, how do you top Mad Love? Well, you don't, kids.
Yeah, I'm fully expecting Mad Love to be the peak. I'm not expecting anything better in these last 3.
Sure. And chemistry, I love things about this episode. I really do. I love things about it, and they've always stuck with me. That's the thing. A lot of people kind of forget about the episode. There are elements of this episode I love, but nothing that really makes it like kind of a whammo-blammo episode by any stretch. But elements that I really liked, and some really wonderful callbacks, and kind of the history of the kind of the DCAU. It's kind of nice, but little this, little that. I mean, I think there's some polish that maybe we'll uncover as we're going through it. But let me get into some background. Let me give you some context. Not a lot, but let me give you some context. All right. So this was directed by Butch Lukic, who of course did Mad Love before this and Love's a Crock. As I mentioned early, New Adventures. There's kind of a series of romantic episodes of kind of relationship-themed episodes.
Yeah, in retrospect,
it's kind of like season 3 was the reform season. Season 4 is the relationship season.
Right, I could see that. Yeah.
Okay, so the writer, we had kind of a dual writers on this. So of course, one writer we had was the great. Stan. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. No, we have one writer. I'm thinking of the next episode. Next episode is 2 writers. Sorry. Okay, so we had Stan Berkowitz doing this one. Of course, I love Stan Berkowitz, which is phenomenal. Love that episode. Mm-hmm. He also did A Cult of the Cat, which is kind of the last time we kind of saw kind of Batman's love life and kind of the shambles that it was left in last.
This episode actually kind of feels similar to that. That's kind of funny.
Let's see. So he also did from Superman the Animated Series. He did probably the best episode. He did The Late Mr. Kent. Love that one. Oh, yeah. Good one. And the big thing that tee up with Stan Berkowitz is that he wrote and adapted the New Frontier animated movie from the DC original animated films with my buddy Dave Bullock.
Nice.
But so of course I love Stan Berkowitz. I mean, some stories better than others, of course, but this one, I think this one definitely is a lot better than Cult of the Cat. But we'll get into that. The studio, as always, Coco with a little sploosh of Dong Yang. Of course, having done Mad Love, Girls Night Out, and Love is a Crock. So, not a lot of backgrounds. The main thing that hit on this is that, so this was inspired, as you can probably guess, by Paul Dini's episode, House and Garden.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Kind of an evolution of the idea, a little bit more like, what if we took a next level in terms of how screwed up can we get with some plant stuff?
So House and Garden was basically like the one woman was the plant woman, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, to be fair, like the family too, the whole family. Well, yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Basically, we reveal
So this
the woman.
episode is almost kind of like the aliens to House and Garden's Alien, if that makes sense.
That's a good way of putting it. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. So basically, from what I can gather, again, I can't gather a whole lot, but Paul Levitz, I believe the editor at the time at DC Comics, like he gave some advice when he showed up. He gave some advice to Berkowitz, where he kind of said, it'd be great to. A lot of times, you want to do when you're dealing with Batman stories, you want to create, or just telling a superhero story in general, you want to create a problem through the alter ego for the superhero to deal with, as in like a problem for like the Bruce Waynes or the Clark Kents that affects Batman and Superman, so to speak. And just one, the main thing I want to hit too, just to give you perspective on it. Batman's, of course, Batman's had various relationships in comics, and believe it or not, he's been almost married a lot. So just the key ones to hit, of course, the one that's very pertinent to this episode and in general with the DCAU, Andrea Beaumont. That was the one that could have saved him. Had he married Andrea Beaumont, he got engaged. You were rooting for those two crazy kids, and then things went awful.
Andrea Beaumont is like the ultimate like white whale of a relationship for Bruce.
Absolutely, that was the one that could have saved that poor kid in the alley. Let's see. So, of course, very notably, Julie Madison. Almost the comics famously there's a story where he was like pretty much like all but married to Julie Madison, but then that kind of went south. Silver St. Cloud, per Kevin Smith's story, Batman Cacophony. Now, here's the funny thing. So, Batman is technically married, depending on how you view this. Technically married to Talia al Ghul, which is always one of my favorite little details, because in the comics, to team up with Ra's al Ghul, we had to marry Talia to work together. So,
but that is very much a marriage of convenience. So.
It was, but it was awesome. And very famously, one of the last ones I'll mention is very famously, there was a whole build up to a wedding in Tom King's run on Batman, where basically he and Catwoman by issue 50 they were supposed to get married, and then things got complicated, and then people were upset. That was a big thing, though. I mean, he's kind of like common law married to Catwoman now. He's like everything but the official I do's, essentially, but he's kind of common law married to her now. And the fun thing about this episode is that there's a Batman 66 episode. I don't know if you remember this, where the whole premise of the episode, like the second part of it, was there's this villain called Marcia, Queen of Diamonds, who basically her whole plan is to get Batman to marry her.
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
So I wonder if perhaps maybe a little bit of that rubbed off here, or just like a coincidence in the many decades of Batman. Who knows? And let's just get into it. So yeah.
All right. So the episode starts with Tim Drake's worst enemy, Dragon. Garden parties. Da da da.
But not just a garden party; it's a wedding.
Yes.
So Veronica Vreeland, she's finally tied on good old Veronica Vreeland. You remember, Ronnie?
Of course I do.
Yeah, so
like you said, Dragon, I do think the probably the strong point of the episode is the ties to other DCU continuity. So.
Yeah, and by the way, the fun...
Wait, I said DCEU, I meant DCAU, just to clarify.
Oh, we definitely got to clarify now, because people are trying to drudge up everything now.
Yeah, exactly.
See, now it's popular. Before it was like, DCEU, what are you, nuts? But, of course, now it's like, hey, extended cut changes everything. No, but seriously, the actually fun thing about this episode, now we're kind of ramping down, this episode and the next two, I guess, mainly the next one, we see the last appearances of a lot of Batman characters, because they're really not going to show up anywhere else outside of outside maybe a few direct-to-video movies.
Makes sense, yeah.
So I mean, like, this is the last time you're going to hear. This is the last appearance of Nightwing. This episode.
Oh wow.
I mean, the last time you hear him, too. I mean, I think there's like a very brief visual cameo in one episode of Justice League.
I was honestly not ready for that.
Yeah, so this is the last. Really, this is like the last Nightwing, not counting the movie that shall not be named, which is somewhat fits into the cracks.
Oh yeah, right. Oh god, that's unfortunate.
This is the last time you hear him and Veronica Vreeland. So this is the last time you You get them. So yeah, so Veronica Brilliant, she's finally she's tied the nut for the 4th time apparently, which is funny. So she's tossing the bouquet of flowers and it lands in Susan Mcguire's hands. Susan Mcguire, I don't know if you caught this, voiced by Linda Hamilton.
I did not catch that. No.
I think she does a good performance this episode, especially during the reveal. I think she's pretty good in this episode of Susan.
Yeah.
I love the little clue. At least in my headcanon, the clue has always been she caught that bouquet for a reason because it's a plant and she got it.
Sure.
I think again part of the scheme is like all these next to be. There's a link. Okay.
All right. So a photographer calls her over to get a shot of the groom who caught the garter, and look who it is, Dragon. It's Bruce Wayne.
Yep. So then we have
or as Gordon in The Dark Knight Rises would say, Bruce Wayne.
Yes. Sound a little bit more like Max Schreck when you do it, but yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm trying.
Bruce Wayne. Why just like Batman?
Oh God! All right.
Anyway, so we have a little meet cute with Bruce and Susan here. Like basically making like Susan making a pantyhose joke. It's like a whole I really hate these things talking about the garters. It's like, like oh yeah, I mean pantyhose is so much more convenient. Like so basically she's trying to make the grim guy laugh at the wedding, which is nice. So we get to see some chemistry at play, which of course very much a dual meaning in the episode.
All right, and along comes Mr. Bad News Dragon. Like this character is designed in a way where it's like from the second his design pops up into frame, I'm just like, oh, this guy's just not good.
Yeah. So we meet Veronica Vreeland's groom, and the idea, and this is a really great idea, that's a friend of Susan's, because they would all know each other logically.
Yeah.
They would all know each other. It's part of the Ponzi. Essentially, it's a marriage Ponzi scheme at work here in a sense.
It's a marriage MLM, Dragon.
Sure. So, anyway, so Michael, voiced by Tim Matheson from Animal House. He was Otter. He's the main guy in Animal House. And also he directs a lot of TVs. Anyway, little fun facts. So meet Michael the groom. Who again, there's a big storm cloud above this guy. We're gonna get into that later. But this is Veronica.
Don't you just agree that just with the design, it's just like, oh, okay, there's just something about this dude's face that I don't trust.
Yeah, it's almost like that Kent Mansley effect from the Iron Giant. It's like sometimes there's people in life you just see him, you just
it is Kent Mansley. That's a good comparison.
It's like just those people you meet sometimes. It's like, I don't like this guy.
Right.
I'm not going to like this guy. Like, no. Michael does have a little air of that, sure.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so this is her 4th husband. And an important detail to hit here for what's going to be uncovered later. After 2 weeks. It's like, don't you think it's a little sudden, Ronnie? He says, well, it was chemistry. It was chemistry, Bruce.
And also, just this guy's piercing green eyes, which are, of course, going to be a plot point. I mean, they are noticeable, Dragon. They stick out. Like
I love that it's
stare
right
into your soul.
For you. I love that it's right there for you. The little clues under your nose. All right, so then we have the big foreshadowy line. Maybe someday it'll happen to you, which of course it is going to happen to Bruce, and Bruce is just kind of scoffing at this. Meanwhile, speaking of scoffing and scarfing down, we have Barbara and Tim by the buffet.
That was a beautiful transition, Dragon.
Not bad.
All right, go ahead.
So what's Tim doing at the buffet?
Well, I mean, like you said, he's scarfing down, Dragon. He's eating some cake, man. He likes his cake, and frankly, I don't blame him.
Tim Drake loves wedding cake and Tiki. Mark that down. Not Tim Drake liking wedding cake, but just mark down wedding cake. All right.
Wedding cake, okay.
Trust me.
And I will say, wedding cake, just generally speaking, when it's animated, looks delicious.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't know. Here's the thing. Do you ever see like chocolate wedding cake, or is it always just usually white stuff on the inside?
It's always white for me, but I do prefer chocolate cake just generally.
I know.
But having said that, like I said, I mean, there is something aesthetically just very pleasing about wedding cakes in general. And then this has been Tiki and Dragon's food animation hour.
Yep. Someone should give us a Netflix show.
I know,
that.
right?
they got a whole job of cake shows and food shows. Why not an animated food show?
Oh God.
There are literally YouTube channels dedicated to making the animated food in real life. Have you ever seen any of that?
No, I have not.
It's crazy. It's wonderful, but it's crazy.
Do we
All right.
have the Goofy movie Bacon and Eggs?
I
Because that's
mean,
all I care about.
Tiki. Oh, they do have something from a Goofy movie though. It's not
Really?
that though. They
Is
have
it
the
the pizza?
Yeah, no, they have the Leaning Tower of
Oh, the Leaning
Cheesa.
Tower of Cheese.
I'm
Oh,
pretty
perfect.
sure once they did the Leaning Tower of Cheese. Oh, anyway, we're getting off topic.
Uh-huh.
The point being, yes, so we have some wonderfully again. Honestly, their cake animations been. Remember, Demon Within. Their cake animation's been superb. Coco
Yeah.
knows how to animate cake, man.
The
So Tim
cake
Drake's.
is not a lie.
So Barbara's basically Tim saying he hates slow dancing, and Barbara's saying, "Well, you might find it useful someday." Meanwhile, Tim's just scarfing out all his cake. Then again, there's wonderful Tara Strong delivery. Then again, maybe not. So Alfred shows up as Tim Drake's salvation to get out of this shindig. See ya, Babs. So unfortunately, as Alfred remarks, well, Bruce, it looks like I wasn't here soon enough to save Master Bruce.
Mhm.
See, Bruce is actually, shockingly, he's having a good time dancing with Susan, which leads to a really nice transition, a really eerie transition, kind of almost like a Schumacher Batman Forever transition as we fade from Bruce Wayne smiling to Batman smiling. Egad.
Yeah, that is not something you see every day for sure.
Oh, it isn't. So Robin.
So Batman is very off his game, Dragon, as Tim Drake is essentially trying to lead whatever the hell mission is going on here.
Yeah, basically they're on patrol and they've noticed these bikers, kind of a biker gang's about to rob a pawn shop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's four bikers, importantly, as Robin points out to him. Like, okay, there's four bikers, the four of them in there. So that we see this poor. I gotta tell you, man, I love this kind of I love this kind of scene just generally, as like Batman saving people. It's like, this poor guy is just accosted by these four bikers trying to run an honest pawn shop business, it seems, and he's about to, something bad's about to happen to him. I'm glad we get to put a stop to that. So Batman and Robin, they take out two of them, and then now the leader takes the owner at gunpoint, which leads to an awesome moment of Batman disarming him with the gun and just punching him across, like almost like hurting the guy's back, really, or like almost breaking the guy's back, it seems. But he deserved it though. So then we have the fourth guy that Batman completely forgot about, which is so unlike Batman. Is charging at him with a knife. Robin, remember, takes him out with a batarang, saves a very surprised Batman, and he says again. So Batman very noticeably off his game as Robin.
Yeah.
Four of them, man. Why are our roles reversed all of a sudden? This power dynamic's so off tonight.
Well, I mean, this isn't the first time that we've seen Tim Drake kind of, sort of have to take charge with Batman.
Oh yeah.
And I do like that. That's kind of like, it feels like what I like about Tim Drake in comparison to Dick Grayson, even though obviously I really like both characters, is that I feel like Dick Grayson, he sort of let his issues with Batman sort of like stew. You know what I mean? He kind of like just bottled them up.
Yeah, let him fester.
Right. Whereas with Tim Drake, he's not afraid to just call out Batman in the moment, all for the sake of, like a more healthy dynamic between the two of them.
Certainly. So we're in the Batcave. Robin relays this to Alfred that Batman's a little off his game tonight, and Alfred mentions, "Oh yeah, he went out. So it must be something really important if he went out right after the mission."
Right.
So
and this is fucking surreal.
Yeah.
Batman like doing the basically, Dragon. I'm going to describe it as like the thing in the 80s that was cute that is now creepy.
Yeah, I'd say here's the thing. Here, the sweet comparison I have is he's basically doing Tommy Lee Jones from Men in Black when he's watching his wife from afar. But
right.
But again, that's the romantic version of it. This is not so much.
This is more kind of like Revenge of the Nerds kind of like creepy factor.
Sure, yeah, it's the '80s thing broadly. Yeah, this is like, but we'll give him a pat on the head now, then, but not now. So Batman, he's basically spying on Susan as she tends to her garden. I love the music in the episode too. As I'm saying, I think the music was on fire this episode, and I like kind of it playing here because also when we play some of the romantic music, there's like a twinge of something's off here, and how happy it is. It's like, no, this is not a classic for. But we don't really do romantic scores in Batman all that much outside of that Mad Love episode, and that was already like that's a romanticized version of the Joker themes. That doesn't even really count.
Sure.
So he sees she likes these white roses or something. So. Batman, he's mixing his two lives because he has it bad for Susan. Like, Batman would never do this. And also fun little connecting thing. This is where I'm kind of leading a lot of this. Is that he hasn't watched the woman from afar with love in his eyes by binocular since Mask of the Phantasm with Andrea Beaumont on her date with Arthur Reeves. So,
Yeah, this is very much just kind of like the next potential Andrea Beaumont, and that has been significantly long time. Like, I would say well over a decade, right?
I mean, yeah, sure. Since the courtship of Andrea Beaumont, yes, yeah, sure. Let's see. Bruce, we see that Bruce has invited Susan onto a yacht. Again, yachts are going to be big. Yachts are all the rage amongst the one percenters, kids.
And that just reminds me of like the Incredibles 2 finale for some reason.
So we're on a yacht for a date here since the wedding. It's unclear how long they've been. Like, if this is it sounds like this is the first date, but we have like some time passes. I don't know. I'll admit that's kind of a fault of the episode. I feel because it feels like he's proposing to her, which he basically does in this scene after he gives her the flowers and she likes him. He immediately proposes, which is already a crazy, almost like Frozen-esque call out of it. You can't marry someone after
yeah.
You just met, which it really seems like he's doing because it sounds like it's been 2 days.
If I were to guess, it's probably like it's something to do with the actual pheromones that are like clouding its judgment.
No, you're entirely right, Tika. That is what's happening. I'm just saying in general, it just feels like it feels even faster than it's supposed to be. I got to admit, because it sounds like 2 days, but later on he says he's been seeing her for a week, so it's unclear. But the point being,
still, a week is like maybe you get to your first kiss in a week. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. So the point of the episode is what you hit so early. It's crazy, but intentionally so. And again, I like that the music is romantic but off. So I love how we're kind of leading the audience down a path of like, okay, something's amiss here, folks. I mean, you should be happy for them, but something's not good. Something's off here.
Right.
So then we have, for me, one of the money scenes of the episode. This is one of what I was talking about earlier. This is one of my favorite memorable parts of the episode here. I love this. So, Bruce Wayne in the Batcave. Again, oddly out of costume, which has only happened like really in that Cold Comfort episode. We see Bruce in the Batcave without the suit on. Again, for the dramatic point that we need for this scene. But anyway, so Bruce gathers the Bat family. So again, also Nightwing's in the scene, showing that they've mended fences. So Nightwing would not usually be in the Batcave since old wounds were revealed.
This scene very much feels like kind of like a like we're in the end game now when it comes to this series.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This is a great scene. So so Bruce Wayne. And I love how Conroy performs this. So he performs this so well. It's just the ambiguous kind of love and infatuation of it all. You're like, is he really head over heels, or is it like a man under control of something? I think he plays it really well. Where he says, like, since the last few weeks, things have changed. The pain of my parents' death, it's still there, but seems smaller. Now there's this feeling. There's a new feeling now, a lightness, a sense that things will work out for the best. And this is hilarious. So Tim Drake, that's happiness. And then this is great. He answers as Batman, which is hilarious. Well, whatever it is, I like it.
Right.
I just love it. It's kind of, it's like, I don't want to say maybe like a meme before memes were really a thing, but like people like really love the whole like, well, whatever it is, I like it. And it's like just dead serious. Like Batman just discovered what happiness is. He likes it. He's not gonna let anything ruin it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he knows Susan's responsible for it. She's everything that he needs. She's perfect. And then Dick Grayson. This is my favorite part of the whole thing, right outside of that funny bit. Dick Grayson says, "Well, there's one problem. That." And then we have the money shot. And we see the cape and cowl draped over the chair, and we use the Phantasm score from the Birth of Batman sequence when he puts on the costume for the first time. I love that.
I love how that's the money shot, by the way. That is pure power and symbolism right there.
Yes. And again, it's a Phantasm tie-in, and it's about like the potential death of Batman opposed to the birth of Batman. Love it. It's great. Anyway, so my gushing aside, so then we have the dramatic kind of punch of the scene here, where Dick's asking, "Well, how are you going to keep it from her?" Because Dick's an agent. He knows Batman. He would never be, again. He knows the in character Batman. You're like, he would never be able to stop being Batman and America.
Yeah.
So Bruce just answers, "I won't have to. I assume sooner or later the three of you would get all this, but apparently it's going to be sooner." Because in a big dramatic push, and I'm not going to be Batman anymore. Now there's an act break.
All right, Dragon, did that rock your world as a kid?
Little bit, yeah. I mean, so again, so the fascinating thing about this episode, and this is, all the stuff I really love about the episode is really in this scene, and a little bit of the stuff that follows, a little bit, is I just love that, like Phantasm, we've given Batman a second chance at we've given Bruce Wayne a second chance at avoiding putting on that suit. Mm-hmm. It's a fascinating idea, and it's also the idea that Tom King has really explored in those recent comics. And broached in this episode way before then, because when Batman's on the precipice of getting married, it brings up the question of, can Batman be happy? The fundamental question of can Bruce Wayne be happy and be Batman? Can these two things exist at the same time? So Tom King is always circling around in his books with the whole getting ready to marry Catwoman story. It's like, can he? And the really interesting thing about New Adventures, looking at it now on the rewatch and everything, he said, well, technically, as this scene kind of determines, now that he has a Bat family, technically he has an out. He's trained them. He's groomed them. We saw the Robins are in good shape now. We're all good. Nowadays we get into the whole thing. Who's going to put on the suit next? Who's going to wield the bat suit, so to speak? Put in wield the shield terms. But it's like he potentially now has a way to move on with the Bat family, which again makes New Adventures even all the more relevant with the whole direction of that season. So it's very interesting stuff. So, yeah.
All right. So for the next foreseeable future, we're going to be on a boat, right?
Well, we have a wedding.
Oh, yeah, right.
So, by the way, a lot of Easter eggs of all the guests at this wedding. I mean, if you look at it, this is kind of last.
And I mean, like you said, the wedding does come kind of like fast and furious, Dragon. It's like, 7 minutes in, we're already at the wedding. All right.
Let's see. We got the Langstroms there. Man-Bat and his wife, they're there.
That's nice. That's nice.
Jack Ryder, who, again, Tiki, he's going to be really important. Jack Ryder, remember him.
You keep hyping him up. I know. I've got him backlogged in my brain.
You got Zatanna and Jason Blood.
Okay.
Leslie Tompkins. The only time she appears in New Adventures. Leslie Tompkins.
Nice.
Joan Leland, Harley Quinn's doctor. Mayor Hill and Jim Gordon. I got to tell you, Tiki, when I rewatched the episode for a moment, because it's been so long, I was like, I'm going to be really peeved if Jim Gordon isn't at this wedding. Because I always remember him being at the wedding, but it's been so long. I saw the other ones.
I don't think he has any speaking lines.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. That's it. I'm going to be really mad. It's given everything those guys have been through, and he's always Gordon and Bruce are always at those parties together. I'm going to be really peeved if Gordon wasn't at that wedding. Plus, Barbara's at that wedding.
Right.
So, of course, Lucius Fox, he's given the toast, and it does make me wonder. I wonder if he or Dick Grayson were the best man. That's what I wonder. I wonder if Lucius was the best man. But these are questions we'll never know. But Lucius is giving the speech. Lucius!
I'm glad you remember that. Anyways,
of course I remember. It's the lady and backer to the side of here. But what about Lucius?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh no, they're gonna kill him.
All right, drown Morgan Freeman. No.
Anyways.
Anyway, so rises jokes aside. So of course, again, then we have Lucius Fox giving the wedding toast, which is like the nail in the coffin for a relationship here. It says, "May you be as happy as you are right now." Which
just don't do that. Just don't jinx it. So how about just to a lifetime of happiness of various shades?
God. So Susan notes that the lady that brought them together, the reason they're together, Veronica Vreeland, is not here.
Yeah.
She's very suspect. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Let me say that again. Suspicious. Suspicious.
And so Dick, meanwhile, Dick Grayson, this is always a fun exchange. Again, this is pretty much the last we're ever going to hear of Nightwing, so I'm going to savor it. So Dick Grayson says, I'll give it a month. The wedding? I mean, the marriage? No, before he's back in the suit.
That is an appropriate, it's rather abrupt. It's like when that moment happens, we don't really, it's not really a final goodbye or anything from him. But I do appreciate that at least thematically it ties in with his overall character.
Yeah, it's kind of like a nice 1-2 punch. One punch for the like the whole how he knows Batman. Then after Barbara's like line here, she's championing the idea that it's going to work out, that anyone can change and settle down. To like a little flicker of the old Dick Grayson Barbara Gordon relationship there, to him just shutting that down. Don't get your hopes up. So a little 1-2 punch for the Batman and Batgirl, but it's kind of nice.
All right, so meanwhile, Veronica Vreeland is not in good hands. Is her fiance-to-be, oh boy, Dragon, or I'm sorry, her current husband, not her fiance.
Her fourth husband, yeah.
Right, Dragon, this guy is, he's, to quote Sonic the Hedgehog, he's no good.
No good. So Bruce learns over a phone call. Basically, Alfred tells her that Veronica's on the phone in a panic, and this panic that we overhear is Michael attacking her. And again, a lot of spousal and kind of relation, a lot of domestic abuse in these two Batman episodes.
Yeah.
Back to back. So of course the line disconnects. Bruce has to go. And Susan completely understands. And again, seriously, Linda Hamilton, I think she's doing a great job in the role here. You're kind of buying what Bruce Wayne sees in her.
It's almost too good to be true, though.
Exactly.
Also, I love the moment where Michael just goes through the lasers, and you're just like, oh my god, what the hell is he? Is he a Terminator or what?
Yeah, of course, be very appropriate. Veronica, she's in like her little panic room with those like very dangerous, not just like the alarm lasers. These are the security lasers, man. These are not to be trifled with.
Like Mission Impossible lasers.
Yes, and seriously, I just love that creepy bit where when he sticks his head in, ouch! It's like, oh god. He's healing from the wounds, and oh my god, how she's not dead is beyond me.
Mm-hmm.
He's really not good at killing people. So. Anyway, then we have, I love that we cut away from, like, almost like a Creature from the Black Lagoon, like 50s monster movie style. Like, he goes to where he's screaming, we cut away.
Yeah, then we have Bruce rushing up to the mansion. Veronica, it's Bruce!
Opens the door, and there's a big old backdraft.
Yep.
There's the mansion's on fire. It's flaming! So without hesitation, I live for these moments. Without hesitation, basically we have like a Spider-Man 2 moment with Bruce Wayne. I love it. So Bruce Wayne rushes into the burning building, to the burning structure, and he finds her passed out, and he has to get past the laser grid with the mirror, which is really clever. I don't care if it's scientifically inaccurate. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He deflects the beam, saves Veronica, and gets him out of there, like, avoids the explosion in the nick of time. Like, that's a Batman for you. Yeah! So we're in the hospital, and there's a nice coded scene here where Bruce is by Veronica's bedside. Michael arrives.
Yeah, and like I said, Dragon, this guy's just like Mr. Bad News, man, just whenever he's on screen.
Yeah.
I was at a business meeting. It's like, yeah, likely story, bro.
The guy's in with the wrong crowd. So Michael just as he claims business meeting and everything, he came home to the mansion in ashes.
Mm-hmm.
And like Bruce is asking, like, the detective in Bruce Wayne's always asking, like, hey, she called with a problem? Is everything okay at home? Like, yeah, everything was fine. I don't know. So Bruce leaves, and I love this, and I love like the coded thing of the conversation. Bruce is feeling him out in this scene. He suspects him. I gotta go right now, but I've hired some guards to watch her. I know that'll be a relief for you. Take care of her, Michael. Just clever Batman, putting the pieces together and then making sure she's safe. Very nice. And he's calling Batgirl and Robin to tail this guy because he's got a honeymoon cruise to go. He's trying to balance the two lives, but it's not going to go well.
It's not going to work. It's just not going to work.
Sad but true. So, Mike, what's going on with our new favorite character, Michael Tiki? What's happening?
So Michael drives to a giant greenhouse, and Dragon, all I have to say about that is, suspicious. Suspicious. I don't know why I'm doing the suspicious runner, but I like it.
I'm doing like a Phineas and Ferb echo, but yeah.
I'm literally ripping off something from the Your Movie Sucks Kimba the White Lion video.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that part yet.
I mean, Kimba? Simba? Suspicious.
All right, okay.
All right, anyways.
We're at the greenhouse, and who's inside this greenhouse, Tiki?
It's Michael and Poison Ivy.
Yes, of course. I love this little nod to. Of course, Ivy emerges in like a giant plant, a little almost like a Venus flytrap sort of thing, I guess. Some weekend they really took this image and they ran with it. It's a classic comics image too, but it's in the Arkham games. It's really big. She's in like a opera. Her boss level is like she's in like that giant plant thing, pretty much. Yeah. It's really cool. All right, it's Batgirl and Robin. They overhear basically Ivy's plan here, at least the most part of Ivy's plan is that she's dealing with Michael here. He's in a panic. He tried to kill Veronica because she was on to him. Like, what do you mean she was on to you? And he reveals he's turning back. He opens his shirt, and what's on his shirt? What's under his shirt?
Oh, leaves, Dragon. He's a basic fig boy under there.
Sure, whatever that means.
He's Timothy Green, Dragon.
That's better. So, yes, he can never wear socks. So, we reveal. Was that all the growth that we gave that kid? Was it just like around the ankles, really?
Yeah, no, it was pretty much just like the ankles and then like kind of the chest, from what I remember.
Man, that's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry, the sock thing always bothered me. Anyway, so we reveal the plant growth on his chest, and basically Ivy is now like realizing, I got to move up my timetable, though. The plant spouses, they're breaking down faster, and what about Veronica? Then what does Ivy do?
What does she do, Dragon? She rips off the guy's flesh, very brutally. Just like, okay, see this flesh blanket? It's going off of your body.
Just like rips the shirt down, which you're thinking, oh, it's going to be one of those episodes. Then no, she rips off his flesh. My God. And then Robin almost blows chunks. Like, oh my God. Batgirl saving the situation there. And then we have like kind of the old school, like, consider this your annulment. Very, very kind of a Total Recall line. Mm-hmm. So seriously, what do you think about the plant design for Michael? He's the only one we see minus the skin.
I mean, I think the visceral kind of pulling off the skin is more effective than like the actual plant design. I think the plant design is okay. Honestly, I think the dude looked kind of like weirdly creepier as a human, just because he kind of had just like I said, he kind of had that sort of like, oh, I don't know, man, I don't trust you, bro. And then now as a green guy, he's just kind of like monster henchman of the week. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because the last time she pulled this sort of thing, we had the cactus henchman, which looked awesome.
Right.
Obviously, that wouldn't work here because then they'd all have to be the shape of the Hulk, pretty much. But I gotta admit though, I do like kind of the conceit, like in the earlier scene, kind of with the whole flesh removal. It's kind of like a '50s B movie with with a budget. It's like Greg Nicotero effects in the '50s.
Sure.
All right. So before Batgirl and Robin can follow them to, basically they mentioned they got to get to the honeymoon cruise, which we'll get to. That's basically going to be our third act. Batgirl and Robin, they try to follow them, but then they're entangled in vines that are attacking them, and Robin gets them out of this with the grappling gun, which is really neat, and they're hooking onto the table, and the table breaks. Mm-hmm. And there's this whole splash of red chemicals that spills and basically melts the plants all icky. It's like, oh man, look at all that chlorophyll all over the place. It's going to take them weeks to clean up in here. So they got to get some more of that plant-killing chemical, and they got to get to Bruce on the honeymoon yacht. So let's go to that yacht.
All right. Meanwhile, in The Incredibles 2 finale, I'm just kidding.
Yes, so we're at the newlywed couple yacht. The idea here's the thing. I love this. If you really think about it, it's like, man, that's awfully convenient. All the plant spouses are on the same...
It is super duper convenient, Dragon. I mean, I will say it's a we don't care, but it's not like a gleeful we don't care. It's kind of more like just a convenient, like, nah, we don't care, I guess.
I would argue this, though. Here's the logic, though, and I can buy the logic. I'm saying it is convenient, though, but think about it. All the plant spouses suggested the cruise per the plan.
I mean, it is very much kind of like a weird... It's an interesting sort of like other take on an Invasion of the Body Snatchers storyline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like instead of the Body Snatchers actually getting your body, it's more kind of like invading your life.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting.
assumedly, they're suggesting like, hey, let's all again, whether they'd all get like a yes on that matter, and then why would people want to spend their honeymoons with the other people? But
That's the best question, Dragon. That's the best question.
But again, so assumedly it's a pheromone thing, maybe, I don't know.
All
right, so Bruce is chatting with some other billionaires on the yacht about how kind of effortless their relationships have been, and basically how Bruce is saying again a little bit of insight into how Bruce Wayne feels about things. There's a nice little tidbit here where it's it's about kind of he's always feared that time and compromises would of a relationship would take away from the mission ultimately.
Yeah.
And of course, this leads to, again, like a nice little insight into Batman, why he's ultimately kind of distanced himself from relationships, because they would get in the way of the mission ultimately, which makes that tracks. That sounds good. And we have our other billionaires, one of which, the Texan of the group, that's voiced by Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., by the way. He's the one saying,
nice.
The one about she squeezes a dime even harder than I do. Yeah. So then we all kind of point out like the whole all of our women have green eyes, and we've all had like affairs with them for 2 weeks.
And then I love how this is one of my favorite Bruce Wayne specific bat exits.
Yeah, go
on. Yeah, they're just like basically as soon as the green eyes gets mentioned, he's gone.
What are you, Wayne? Wayne. Bruce exit. Nice. All right.
So yeah, this is kind of a harsh scene, but I like how morally kind of like sort of ambiguous this is, where it's like he's demanding answers and you don't quite know how in she is on the plan, or if she really just wants him for him, or I don't know. What do you think?
That's why I think Linda Hamilton did such a great job, because in those earlier scenes, it feels like I think she has a mission. But I think she does. I mean, some of the attraction has to be there, because the whole point, it's hard to say because there is a manipulation at play, which she calls out.
Sure.
But I like to think she develops an actual personality, and I think an identity starts to form. So I think it's less a question of. I think it's more a question of, I think she becomes a person before she herself I think she would define herself somewhat as a person, even though again she fully calls herself as a vegetable awesomely. But I think she is conning him, and she knows that she's conning him, and in return she calls him out on his own relationship failing. So I think she develops as a person, but I think she develops humanity, but it's not humanity in the positive sense, I guess.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
I guess that's kind of where I'm coming down. I was just thinking about it. But anyway, so Bruce is interrogating her, giving her want some straightforward answers, and I don't know why you're doing this. Too much perfection, too many green eyes. I just love that. Ultimately, the failing in any relationship with Bruce Wayne is that he can't turn the Batman side of himself off. So that's really on brand.
Yeah.
That with any relationship, plant-like or otherwise, that makes sense. So, I want to know about your background, your friends, your family. So she tries to deflect and leaves, and there's a tense moment here. Bruce just grabs her arm as Batman says, "You're not leaving this cabin until you tell me."
Yeah, and like I said, I do like morally how you almost feel like he's being borderline abusive in this moment, but by the same point, he's right, so it's like they do put Bruce in kind of a compromised position here, and I like it. I like kind of like the morally gray area of it.
And I love that as he's turning the heat up, she begins to sweat, and her sweat is chlorophyll. That's what gives her away. She's panicking. None of them are prepared for this sort of questioning. So then we have probably the money moment of the episode. Okay, I already mentioned the money shot. This is probably the big, I think, one of the great moments, and Linda Hamilton delivers it perfectly.
Why, here. Bruce, I'm your wife.
It's just great. What are you? I'm your wife. She delivers that so well.
This terrifying, octopus style, vine tentacles come out of her dress.
Yes. It's a great. That's awesome.
So
that's what I'm saying. It's that earlier scene in the Batcave and this moment. That's what I really love about the episode, right there.
Right.
That's great. So again, it's this wonderful. It kind of had this nice debate about the compromise. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. In the writers' room, this whole thing about the pheromones. We had the pheromone reveal here, essentially that, Bruce is like saying, "Oh, I was so stupid. I should have seen it from the beginning." Where basically she says, no, he thinks it was entirely pheromones, and she says, "Oh no, the pheromones were just to get your attention. The rest was me." So this was subject of a big debate in the writers' room between Stan Berkowitz, and Alan Burnett. The Godfather in the Batman writers' room. The producer. So essentially, they kind of reached a compromise where Stan Berkowitz wanted it to be not. He wanted it to not be pheromones. He wanted it to be like pretty much mostly what it ended up being. Alan Burnett wanted it to be. You needed to get the pheromone thing in there because basically Stan Berkowitz's whole thing is as you see in all the episodes that he's done. Think about it. Even with like Never Fear and with Cult of the Cat, he likes exploring the flaws of Batman, Bruce Wayne, like Batman being a sap when it comes to Catwoman, and Batman going too far when he's doused with the fear toxins. He wanted Bruce Wayne's flaw was that he's kind of blind to how relationships work, and that was his downfall. And Alan Burnett just wanted to be we need to get out of jail free card because Batman can't be this dumb.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought they reached a nice common ground with the whole idea.
I do too. Yeah. I thought it made sense for sure.
For that for the best. And again, then she calls him out on the whole thing of like relationships are about giving and I was the ultimate giving and understanding wife, and as she's tossing Batman around the room. Smashing him around the cabin
with the octopus style vine.
Oh yeah. The relationships aren't supposed to be easy. Even I know that, and I'm just a vegetable. That's a great cutting line right there. Relationships aren't supposed to be easy.
All right. So meanwhile, the ship starts to kind of like toss and turn. There's a lot of turbulence. Bruce awesomely uses a lamp to kind of like electrocute the vine and therefore like kind of disable her. Yeah,
and he escapes and he locks her in the room. We have another hilarious line from Linda Hamilton here. So, how dare you treat your wife like this? How dare you treat your wife this way?
God. Okay, so panic is ensuing on the ship. Let's see, the seaweed. The seaweed, I've never seen anything like it. So basically, Dragon just, forget the octopus seaweed. We've got giant squid vine seaweed stuff kind of coming up for the ship, along with Michael and Ivy.
Yes. So
by the way, I like that Michael just has like the most generic man name possible.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I just can't fight it because of some stuff we're doing. But every time when I was taking notes for this episode, every time I was like, oh yeah, his name was Michael. Was that I keep thinking of keep thinking of Lalo saying, "Are you Michael?
Are you Michael?" God. I was thinking of Godfather, like K being like Michael. But no, yours is better.
It's funny. Every time I think of like someone calling out to Michael Corleone, I keep thinking about the reverse. I always think of Apollonia, get away from it.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry, going back. So this is where we get into the meat and potatoes, or I guess the veggies of Ivy's plan. Ivy's plans, I think, is a really great plan. I thought it was a really genius kind of Ivy plan. Is that it's a great evolution of the house and garden idea, but it's the cynical version of what her house and garden was for her personal betterment, essentially. Right. And honestly, the financing, it was a little more of like kind of like a real, not a real housewife. It was I'm blanking on the word. The point being is like a housewife thing, of the suburban housewife thing. I don't know. She needed to fund the extravagant lifestyle. Anyway, so what we do here, in the kind of the cynical, more crime-driven aspect of Poison Ivy here, I love that it's the two elements of Poison Ivy. It's plants and it's attraction. The attraction of men, which is what she does very well. It's what her whole character's been based on, these two elements. We kind of fuse them together for this plan, which is marry off the perfect plant spouse. Basically, the seaweed on the boat here, we lure them all to a cruise. We're gonna basically blow up the boat by getting the seawater in the hull and just blow it up, kill all the billionaires, get the now legally recognized plant spouses to inherit the money and the companies, and it funds Ivy, probably funding like environmental causes and kind of crime and stuff.
Sure.
So yeah, I think that's a great plan.
Yeah, it all tracks out, definitely.
So Bruce disappears, as he tends to do when he's saving the day, and luckily, Batgirl and Robin, they show up, with the chemical and then the suit. Like, hey, how's the honeymoon going? Ah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so Ivy sent the plants to find Susan because someone's gone. Someone missed the roll call. We know where she is.
Mhm.
The billionaires. This is a fun bit we never see. I love it. It makes so much sense. The billionaires they don't like this very much, so they fight back. Who's trying to kill us and take our money? Let's fight back.
Yeah. It's like, it's like we've always kind of seen like the Gotham elite as kind of like, almost like fat cats in a way, just kind of like lazy slobs. But yeah, this is a nice kind of like, showing a more self-sufficient side to that.
Yeah. Which I wish it was less with the upper class, but ultimately it's the message of, hey, Batman's teaching people to fight for themselves, kind of that Dark Knight Returns message. I don't know.
Sure.
All right, so let's see. So Michael's using his plant arms to separate everything. He's about to throw some people off the boat. Thankfully, hey, I got some trichloroethylene broccoli boy. Try some of that. He just basically splashes the red chemical on him, and it all melts. It melts, and it's all icky. Meanwhile, then we have Ivy with kind of a good cell line, like kind of a good soundbite for Ivy. Time for a good night kiss, and then Batman, throws the batarang, saves his bacon. Batman has returned from his honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
So Robin gets tossed up, and I have almost like a Captain America First Avenger moment. Like, hey, the kid's okay.
Yeah.
So Batman gets probably some poison powder blown into his face, and like it's about to be curtain swarm. She's about to pucker up. Thankfully, Robin shows up. Kiss this, and like bam, hits her with the canister. The ship starts to blow. Everyone gets.
And this is pretty shockingly violent too. Just all these, basically all these humans just disintegrating into green goo. I mean, Dragon, if that goo was red, we'd never be able to get away with it.
Oh heck no. That would be like the opening of that Harley Quinn animated show. We're on a yacht, and those guys, they do get melted. But yes, so Robin gets coated in like the chlorophyll icky goop. So anyway, Robin's getting everyone off in the speedboat. Let's see. So Robin he tells him to go as Ivy's like trying to strangle Batman, trying to kill him as the boat's is about to blow up and go down. It's like go. So the seaweed's breaking the ship apart. Batgirl flies over with the ladder from the bat plane, kind of strewn out there. Saves Batman as he tries to grab Ivy, like desperate, like help me, and just like too late, just got in the water, no luck. And then we have a nice, memorable ending. I felt where great ending of Susan looking up from the sinking cabin. We play that great music in this scene too, like great kind of sad music here. It's like it's kind of, I can't even say sad. It's like kind of cavalierly sad music. It's like Batman's kind of shrugging it off in kind of an action movie almost.
Real John tosses the ring in.
Yep. It tosses the ring into the sinking wreck, kind of a representation of his hope of the hope of the relationship for the Batman. Just like
exactly
sink into the bottom of the Gotham Bay, and we all go home. And we all move forward.
All right, and that's the episode, Dragon.
Yeah. So, final thoughts. What'd you think of it?
I mean, I like it. Like I said, it's obviously not going to be like in the elite tier of season 4 episodes, but. I do think as far as season 4 goes, it's comfortably middle of the pack, which isn't a good thing because I do think that season 4 in general is pretty damn consistent. Overall, probably one of the more interesting Ivy episodes. I'll say that much.
Yeah, final thoughts for me. It's interesting. This episode is kind of like House and Garden, but from the husband or kind of the husband's perspective. Who did know that the wife was the plant person. So yeah, it's always interesting to get stories about Bruce Wayne's personal life. Because it allows us to ask the big picture questions about Batman. It's the topic of marriage has always been interesting in the world of superheroes. Much to the egregiously, how dare you undo that marriage? To why aren't these two kids married? That's the sort of thing. So it's a runaround. In regard to Batman, it's become more and more relevant than ever before with the whole Catwoman affair of late. Mm-hmm. But that's what I love about the episode is that it takes the question and filters it through the DCAU's equivalent of Bruce Wayne faced with marriage with Phantasm, the Andre Beaumont of it all. So I love how that comes across with the episode. I think that's the episode at its strongest point. And we give him an out through a very clever Poison Ivy plot. I think the ambiguity speaks volumes about the whole, did Bruce Wayne genuinely fall in love with this woman? Was it all the pheromones and mixed with Batman's kind of hope for things? I mean, we heard from a plant, but what does she know? It's very much a forgotten episode, kind of like that '66 Batman episode was. No one ever talks about the one when Batman gets married, or almost does. It's an episode that makes you feel bad for Batman. No second chance at a happy ending, and it's the DCA. The last thing I'll say, going forward, just kind of where we're at here and going forward and stuff, is that the DCAU with this episode, it keeps taking things away from Batman. It keeps taking away, again, this is the last time we're going to see some of the Bat family in a major regard, and we're also taking away some of Bruce Wayne's hopes for maybe a day without being Batman. So it's like he's going to be left with. We're taking away everything but the mission, which will lead us to a Batman Beyond era at some point, where even when we graduate the Justice League, we're not going to get the rest of the Bat family. We're going to be lucky to get Alfred. It's just going to be Batman, just the Batman, the icon, versus even the Bruce Wayne side of things for the most part. So it's really interesting to see us just kind of take away hope with this episode for him. So it's a bittersweet one in that regard, but it's an interesting one for me. It's an interesting one. I got a fondness for it.
All right, sounds good. Dragon, take us out.
A return to Ace Chemicals, the genesis of Freakazoid, a giant pie, and Ditko for days. Can Batman and Robin stop Gotham's latest madman, or will the Creeper kill the Joker? Tune in next time to find out. Same animated Bat time, same animated Bat place.
On the next visit to the animated Batcave with Beware the Creeper.
Whatever it is, I like it.